Long ago there were 4 villages that connected themselves to which they provided various materials and goods to the kingdom of Agoria. Each village represented a different material slash trade good. One represented the gemstones and ore, one represented farm animals and farming, one represented fabrics, and finally, the last one represented lumber. We're going to focus on the gemstone and ore village. These villages were separated from Agoria and was enclosed by the ethereal forest, a forest that almost seemed to be a single living entity. When a tree chops down, a new one sprouts up almost overnight. Nothing could penetrate the forest as it could simply regrow anything that was missing. Smoke and fire is seen at one of the villages, specifically the village dealing in ore and gemstone export. A group of horsemen rode into the village like a ball of fire, torches in their hands, setting the houses' roofs on fire and the shattering bottles on the ground, engulfing anything it touches. This group was not, however, just raiding the village for fun. They were searching for something ancient and something valuable, but only knew it by the name of their employer gave them, Reliquia Umbra. They rode their horses to the village center where the last remaining building stood, a hut, and possibly the most important building, the building keeping the relic. The leader of the group broke down the door in a fiery rage and started tearing up the place, and at last found the relic and returned to his horse. But before the group could leave, they could hear a single scream coming from the roaring flames. But it was just a scrawny kid. The leader saw something in the kid, the way the kid ran towards him, almost like a leader. The leader eventually got off his horse and told this kid in a dark and raspy voice, "I don't know what you think you are, coming out like this yelling, but scram, kid, before I slice you with my sword." The kid's name was Edrid, and he was around the age of 19 to 20 years old. Edrid had short, dark hair and amber eyes, and was a 5'10" young adult. Edrid was the son of the late Protector Jerome Pendragon, who swore to protect the relic in the village from any unwelcomed visitors, and Edrid knew he could not fill his shoes as his fathers left him. After gathering the courage to confront the raiders, he screamed at the leader, "Give that back!" The leader responded in a shocked expression and mocking the kid. "And you are?" "I am the protector of this village, and you are not worthy of wielding that relic. Many before you have tried to take its power, but failed to keep it." "You almost sound like you knew what you're doing here, kid. But you have to do better than that if you want to keep this priceless relic. My employer has been looking for this relic for some time now, and I will not disappoint." The leader looked at the kid and saw in his eyes. He saw that this relic meant something to him, and his employer would hate to have a lot of attention on the group, and told the kid, "How about this, Edrid? We duel for the relic, something completely fair and within reason, and with no outside help. Tell me, kid, have you ever fought with a sword, let alone picked one up?" Edrid thought about this, because no one has ever been a problem towards the village. He never knew how to properly use a sword. Edrid was trying not to react in a way he looked weak in front of the village, but deep down inside, he was terrified. Edrid told the man, "I accept your terms. I applaud your strength and nobleness to your village. So let's make this more reasonable. When I return tomorrow at midday here in the town center, and after I beat you in this duel, you will hand me the relic willingly and never show your face ever again. Here's your relic as an assurance for my return. See you tomorrow, Edrid." The group rode out of the village towards the fiery ball in the sky as it sets on the horizon, leaving the smoke-ridden wasteland they created. Edrid knew that once he accepted, he would lose his village, a village in which his father fought and protected for. Edrid opened the bag to make sure it contained the relic. All it was just a purple gemstone. Something that the individuals have fought for centuries, leaving death and destruction in its wake, as for what his father has told him. Edrid never knew why his father was so attached to it, but nonetheless, Edrid knew that he had to protect it at all costs. Edrid placed the bag in his hut, somewhere where no one will find it again. Edrid remembered what his father said about the gemstone when he was young. "This stone
has history before us humans found it. There were multiple that came with the old gods before they left. This stone has a particular way of picking its owner, son. By allowing the user to give everything up for a single goal, the stone will show itself to the wearer, making them what is known to be called relic bearers.
After hiding the relic, he started helping people out who were attacked in the raid. Doing anything he could do to help. After everything has calmed down, he retired to his home to prepare for the duel tomorrow. When he arrived at the hut, he noticed a strange book. After hiding the relic, he started helping people out who were attacked in the raid, doing anything he could do to help. After everything had calmed down, he retired to his home to prepare for the duel tomorrow. Edrid didn't know how he was going to do any of this. When he arrived at his house, he noticed a locked book, which only left a note on it. Read me, and you will understand. Edrid looked out the window and saw no one leaving his building. He went back to the note and started analyzing it further, but nothing was coming off of it until he read the book title, Ordinus Arcana. Edrid knew the name sounded familiar and something his father talked about. Edrid went to his desk where laid various documents and maps, his father's papers, to be precise. Edrid grabbed the tattered journal that laid amongst the lost papers and opened it to different journal entries, but to no prevail. Angrily, Edrid threw the journal across the floor out of rage, and then suddenly he heard a clink sound coming from the journal and went to investigate. He lifted the journal to find a key, a rather old key to be precise, a key that Edrid did not remember. Edrid tried various boxes and latches that was left behind by his father, but with no prevail. After Edrid tried everything, he went back to the mysterious book and tried opening it, but with no budge. But then he noticed a simple lock on the right side. There's no way this is it, right? Edrid could hear a faint humming sound coming from the key in the book. Edrid put the mysterious key in the lock, and after successful turning the lock, the small mechanism clicked, and the lock unlatched itself. Edrid was surprised and confused on why his father had a key to a mysterious book, and after closely analyzing further, he noticed the title was in Latin, which read Arcane Order. Edrid opened the book to find a page that was bookmarked and went to the page. He started reading the bookmarked page and noticed it talked about a group and their history with relics. Upon further reading, he sees a passage that reads, I have encountered the same group in the small village, in which he quickly instigated a duel, on midday in the center of the village. The leader was stronger since the last time I fought him, but I noticed this time he had a sword. In fact, a strange sword, containing fire, glyphs, and designs. I noticed a gem on the hilt of the sword, an orange and red gem, almost the same color as the sun, but I could feel something coming off it, some kind of harsh heat. Once the duel started, he started swinging just regular hits, nothing too strange, but when I had him down for the count, the leader merely closed his eyes and suddenly a coal of fire burst from his sword, making as bright as the sun itself. After seeing him use magic, I was outmatched. Having me pinned down, he raised his blade in the air, and before he could strike, I felt a almost presence come over me, and I whispered a simple spell. The fire was extinguished and kicked him off my chest. I was about to strike before he disappeared in the cloud of smoldering ash. After the events of this duel, I have decided to record this event, in which further relic bearers who will encounter this group will learn from. This event showed me that there are strange events happening, and no relic bearer is safe. J.A. After reading the journal, Edrid noticed a footnote left by the author, presumably, and they were the words that were used to snuff the fire off the blade. In this moment, Edrid felt a sense of fear and panic. Couldn't control his breathing. He was scared that the person in the passage with the fiery blade was the same person who he could be dealing with tomorrow. Edrid was scared and decided to take a quick walk to clear his mind. He couldn't stop thinking of that maybe if this is the end for him, while he took a stroll through the ethereal forest. What if this is it? I cannot win this duel tomorrow. I don't know how to use a sword, and I definitely do not know how to do magic. What the hell am I thinking of accepting this duel? I don't know what to do. Edred ended up in the local graveyard for the fallen warriors inside his father's grave, almost crying and talking as if he was talking to his own father. Dad, I, I don't know what to do. I did something stupid, and I might danger the lives of the village. I failed as the village protector, and I failed you even more, Dad. I'm so sorry. After a couple minutes, Edred felt something on his shoulders, and felt as though the worries of tomorrow were lifted away. Edred turned around and nobody was there, just owls hooting away. Edred got off the ground and walked back to the building, where he noticed the book on the desk and carefully read it through it again, and decided not to take any risks and learn the spell. Every time he says the spell, he thinks something will happen, so he starts to hesitate, whispering the spell, even thinking about it in his mind. Edred passed out while reciting the spell and slept for the rest of the night. Edred awoke from his sleep. He got up and did his normal routine, which consisted of running through the ethereal forest, which allowed him to clear his thoughts, especially today. He then went to the tavern to order his food, and got back home, took a shower, and put on his more appropriate outfit to tend to the village. While he was tending to the village, any moment he had alone, he would start to recite the spell in his head, and even soft whispers. When he returned to his house, he ate his meal from the tavern and heard a knock on the door. Edred opened the door to find Tom, the village blacksmith and main caretaker of the mines.
Edrid, I saw that you accepted the deal, and I just wanted to give you this gift. It was originally your father's sword, but he told me you might have a better use for this.
Thank you, Tom. You have always been a family friend for a long time, helping me grow up when my father died and, well, my mother left me behind.
Edrid, I was lucky to have met you. You have given this village a chance at survival. Ever since your father passed away, they needed a leader, and you filled your father's shoes perfectly. He would be very proud of you, son.
Before Edred could continue, a villager was aggressively knocking at the door. Edred, confused, opened the door to see the leader in the group arrived at the center. Edred walked out of the town center to see 5 white horses with the leader leading the group. Upon arriving at the town center, the leader jumped off his horse and smirked.
Hello, Edrid. I'm glad to see everyone came to see you lose and banish and see this pathetic village go up in a great ball of fire.
I never quite got your name. What should I call you in your, group, then?
You can call me Pyroar, and this is the group of Draconis. We seek valuable gemstones and other various relics throughout the lands.
Agori's bell rang 12 times, indicating it as it's had midday and the duel was starting soon. The duel that could determine Edred's future. Edred and Pyro moved to their respective corners of the village center, and one of Pyro's men signaled by shooting a fire arrow at a house, to be precise. With his father's sword on his side, he felt scared that he was going to lose his father's village and have his home burned to nothing. Edward was the first to start by running up on Pyro and started striking some light attacks, not giving any efforts to his attacks, and Pyro blocking his incoming hits. Edred knew that he could have to change the way he was attacking and started getting more precise with his attacks, but he used more of his energy. By the time Edred was successfully landing hits, he was already exhausted. Pyro continued to block the incoming attacks, but knew he would need to go on the offense soon if he wants the relic. He knew he was losing, but then, out of nowhere, he felt the same feeling as last night. The feeling of scared and worrying disappeared, and felt as though someone was guiding him in his swings. Pyro was impressed by Edred. A kid who has never wielded a sword was actually landing some hits on him, as he was a master swordsman. Pyro knew that if Edred kept it up, the kid would win. Pyro knew that what needed to be done to stop the kid. Pyro avoided Edred's attacks and whispered something to his blade. And just like the passage from the mysterious book, a fiery blaze ignited his blade, and a faint orange aura surrounded the sword. The sword emitted a brightness so blinding that Edred's vision was momentarily incapacitated. Once Edred's vision had returned, he noticed Pyro about to strike him, but dodges the attack last second. The same feeling he felt before was telling him about the passage from the book, and like two puzzle pieces clicking together, he knew that this was the same sword that he was that was used in the duel, and the author described in the book. Edrid finally knew what needed to happen. As he spoke the incantation, as he's practiced all these times before, nothing happened. Edrid was confused on why the incantation did not work. He recited the spell correctly, but Pyro's sword was still bright and started emitting heat from it, almost like the sun. Edrid had nothing else up his sleeve, and he knew he would lose his only connection to his father, and that he failed his village. Pyro hits Edrid with the hilt of his blade, causing him to fall on the ground. Pyro pins down Edrid with his blade and moved his blade towards his neck and shouted, so the whole village crowd can hear him. "What are you gonna do now? That pathetic spell you spoke did nothing, and you are all out of options. Give up, kid, and maybe I'll let you live, so that you can live to see what you did today." Edrid knew that if he gave up, he would have failed everyone. His father, his village, and anyone else that were victims of Pyro and his group, and felt a sudden rush of courage, and started getting up with what energy he had left, and said, "Never. I will never give up. My father has given his life to this village, and I will honor his legacy and his promise, and I will not be taken away by the likes of you. Just like my father, I am this village protector." Blade, and mutters the incantation once more, putting all his emotion into it, and the once magical sword gave out a metallic squeal, as though it had been quenched in water. When the magic disappeared from the sword, it revealed its true nature, a simple sword, with cracks beginning to form in the blade, and after a few seconds, the sword blade started to crumble, leaving the hilt in a blackened stone hilt with a light emitting from the handle. The orange gemstone. Edrid knocked Pyro on the ground with the hilt of his blade, leaving Pyro covered in the stone dust that was once his blade. Edrid got up and raised his sword in the air, as he won the duel and kept his village. Before he could celebrate, the rest of the group started spazzing out and fell to the ground. Edrid was so confused, but then his vision started getting blurry, and then fell to the ground and passed out.